I may change my mind on this after I sleep on it. But my initial gut reaction to this was, I'm okay with it. I'm not saying it's a great hire, but I think it could be a good one for this reason and only for this reason. Jay Gruden will not walk in the door and say, I'm Mike Shanahan and you're not, because that was basically Shanahan's attitude toward the guy I care the most about in this franchise, Robert Griffin III. Mike Shanahan flashed his 2 Super Bowl rings and said, remember, I have these and none of you do. Jay Gruden can only flash 2 Arena Bowl rings, which he did win as the head coach of the Orlando Predators. He was a legend, was Jay Gruden in the Arena League. Jay Gruden also was the coach of the Florida Tuskers of the UFL, if I'm reading that correctly. So I'm not sure how Jay made that leap all the way from there to head coach of the Washington Redskins, except for his connection with his older brother John, who's 4 years older at 50 than Jay is at 46. I do think Jay is a fairly innovative offensive play caller and creator, and he did elevate the Cincinnati Bengals with Andy Dalton at quarterback all the way to 10th in the league in offense. Not bad, although over the last 3 years, his 3 years as coordinator in Cincinnati, they averaged only 17th in offense. And through those years, they did have A.J. Green, and then they had Jermaine Gresham, and this year they had Tyler Eifert, and they also had Sanu, and they had Marvin Jones. So they had a, to use your favorite word, plethora of receivers for whom Andy Dalton could look to. But my point is, I think RG3, and I don't know that he had a discussion with Jay Gruden. I'm going to assume that they talked. Is that a fair assumption? Yeah. I assume they would have talked, and I'm going to assume.
I know that RG3 is in Hawaii, so I don't know how much talking they did. But
did they speak by phone?
Yeah, I don't
Maybe.
know.
Did they hit it off? I'm going to assume that they did, given all the stories about how RG3 is coddled by the owner, Dan Snyder. So I'm going to say that this will be like a good cop fit after the bad cop fit that was Mike Shanahan to RG3. And because of that, I have a good feeling about it, because I do know that Jay Gruden has that live wire personality that his big brother has and demonstrates often on our Monday Night Football telecasts. So just a gut feeling, top of head feeling. I'm going to say thumbs up to this. With the caveat, I'm going to sleep on it. I'm not saying great hire. I'll just say it's a pretty good one. And it did surprise me.
I'm not going to say it's pretty good. I'm not going to say it's pretty bad. I'm relatively neutral on this simply because I just don't know, to be quite honest with you. I look at this, and my first reaction was, well, congratulations to the Gruden family. And by that, I mean the Gruden family. I don't mean just Jay Gruden.
Yep.
And the reason why I say that, you could call it tongue-in-cheek. People could be cynical about it all they want to, and I respect that. I would ask people to respect the position upon which I'm coming from. The Florida Tuskers, from that to an offensive coordinator in the NFL. Wow. And then we look at the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm sorry. I'm looking at what they did this year, what they've done the last 3 years. In 2011, his first year, they were 18th in yards. 2012, they were 12th. Last year, they were 6th. That's improvement. When I look at points, they were 20th 2 years ago. They were 22nd last season. They were 10th in points this year. So there's market improvement. And I don't think that anybody can question the credentials of a Jay Gruden on that level. Just speaking to Mark Schlereth and others and talking to guys in the building over the last few minutes once the news came down, everybody said the same thing. Really, really good play caller. Knows how to run an offense, can be very, very innovative. And last but not least, it's not his fault that he doesn't have, quote, unquote, the quarterback to get the job done. But I guess where my trepidation kicks in is the fact that Andy Dalton has stunk up the joint 3 straight years in the postseason. Jay Gruden is the offensive coordinator of a quarterback that in 3 years, has 1 touchdown, 6 interceptions, and a turnover. And a turnover, which equates to 7.
Should Jay be held accountable?
I don't know. And I guess what I'm trying to say to you is that on its surface, do I believe that Jay Gruden should be held accountable for that? No, I don't. That's Andy Dalton. The problem is how many coaches would have that said about them? How many coaches would have the luxury of pundits, of commentators, of aficionados in the world of football saying that you have no responsibility whatsoever about in regards to the ineptitude of a quarterback that you've coached for 3 years? Mm-hmm. See, that's where it resonates. Now, if you're saying to me the question that you just asked, if it applies to everyone across the board, I got no problem with it. Absolve all of them. Because in the end, you can only scheme things but so much. In the end, it comes down to the guy that you have behind center and what he's capable of doing. But there are an abundance of coordinators that we have looked at over the years whose personnel did not come through for them, and they were held accountable. Whereas in the case of Jerry Gruden, we're shoving that aside. Now, nobody is saying that the man should have been fired from Cincinnati and that the man isn't doing his job or anything like that. But to be elevated to a head coaching spot in the National Football League, fresh off of what we've just seen over the last 3 years from your offense and your quarterback in the postseason, it does resonate with me that way. And then the other thing about it is he interviewed yesterday. And according to what I heard, he really knocked their socks off. He was in a room and
he's a live wire.
They closed the door, and Daniel Snyder was like, I can't let this guy get out of here because he's got other interviews he's scheduled for. If I don't hire him right now, I'll lose him. Really? Really?